Hello and welcome to a pilot episode. I am lost in your ears. You may know me from Twitter, Tumblr, or Reddit. I use all three. I am a helpful voice when it comes to Lucha Libre. For about the last 2 years, I've been doing a thing called CMLL Weekly. This is going to be an audio podcast, maybe a video, that I'm going to post alongside CMLL Weekly number 13. If you don't know about CMLL Weekly, every year I restart the odometer. I've been doing it since the summer of 2017. Restarted at number 1 for 2018. Restarted again at number 1 for 2019, which is what this is, number 13 of the 2019 CMLL Weekly posts. I recorded some of this the other day, and I didn't really like it because it was just me reading what I had written for the text post. This one's going to be a little more looser and a little more freeform. I'm still going to be looking at a script, so I hit the beats, but it's going to be less scripted and less stilted, is how I feel like it came out when I originally recorded. So without any further ado, let's get to CMLL Weekly by Lost in Your Ears and my blog, Lost in Lucha. This week actually had a lot of potential on paper, and I think it did a really good job of living up to that potential. We had a lot of good matches. Monday had 2 great matches. Tuesday was solid all around, and Friday had a top stacked card. The top 3 matches of Friday were all really good. I'm not going to waste too much time. Let's get on to the top 5. Number 1, we have Mystico, Dragon Lee, and Titan versus Negro Cassis, Sanson, and Cuatrero. Negro Cassis is and always will be the man. I love Negro Cassis. I think everything he does is great. He was out on injury up until the recent big event that they had on March 16th, Homage to 2 Legends. He arrived there, and funnily enough, him and his stable, La Pesta Negra, fought the stable that he's teaming with here, NGD, New Generation Dynamites, and they targeted his leg after he came back from a leg injury. So it's funny that the guys who targeted his leg 2 weeks ago, he's teaming here with, and he's teaming with them just fine. This was a great match on Friday night. I would recommend checking it out. In fact, it's my number 1 match of the week for CMLL. Number 2, we have LA Park, Hio LA Park, Volador Jr. versus Ultimo Guerrero, Gran Guerrero, and Euphoria, the latter 3 from the stable Los Guerreros Langoneros, which of course Ultimo Guerrero leads. This was probably a pretty close call for number 1. I put it at number 2 simply because they left us wanting a match with LA Park and Ultimo Guerrero, and we didn't get that. Instead, they set up Gran versus Volador Jr. I still think Gran versus Volador Jr. will be a really good match. I think that'll be a great Monday night main event for Puebla, but it's not really what people wanted, and La Park's not coming back next week for Puebla. So obviously, if you were a fan of Puebla, went to the Puebla shows, and was hoping to see LA Park versus Ultimo Guerrero, it kind of feels like he got a consolation prize here, but still a really great match. And LA Park doing a crossbody from the top turnbuckle is a sight to behold. It always will be. He's a big man to be doing such dives. On to number 3. This was an undercard match from Monday, Arena Puebla. We had Super Astro Jr., Arcalis, and Pantera Blanca versus Hio del Sino and Guillermo's Pantera 1 and 2. Super Astro returns. He was great in his return here. He's been out for a week or 2, hasn't shown up on TV, and I don't think he's been on any other CMLL cards because he took a nasty bump right on his neck doing a backflip out of the corner. So it's nice to see him return here. Also, Pantera Blanca and the other Panteras are from outside. They're outside talents that show up in Puebla every once in a while. Last year, they had a great Atomicos versus Fulano and his sons Puma and Tiger, back when Puma was still in the company. I actually really liked them here. They did a really good job. Twins did some good teamwork against Super Astro Jr. Super Astro Jr. didn't take any bumps on his neck. Really great match. I actually really liked this. It's a hidden gem, but I definitely think you should check it out. Number 4 was the only title match this week. Barbaro Cavernario defending his championship against Forastero for the Mexican National Light Heavyweight Championship. This was Friday night. I was hotter on this than most. A lot of people seemed pretty cool on this, and I understand where people are coming from because really Forastero wasn't really as impressive as people were hoping. Both his cousins Sanson and Cuatrero, who were in the number 1 match, both of them have had singles chances and really knocked it out of the park surprisingly. Like when Cuatrero had his mass versus mass match last March versus Angel de Oro, people were like, wow, this guy can do this good in a singles match, and this is really his first big singles match. Hopefully Forastero will be able to prove people wrong and have great performances after this, better singles performances. But I think this was okay for a first big singles performance, even if Barbaro dominated most of the contest. Number 5, Caristico, Volador Jr., and Volante versus Ingobernables, Rush, Naito, and Terrible. This was Friday night's main event. Naito piling around with Rush is always fun. It was fun last year when it was Rush and LaPark versus Naito. That was kind of probably the funnier and more interesting match. This one, though, actually let Naito do some stuff. It felt like last year when he showed up, he didn't do anything in his big match. Here he did a little more. Still, the match was a little truncated. It was a little shorter than it should have been, and I won't go into why. You can just watch the match. It was fun. It's always nice to see any of the New Japan Pro Wrestling talents, especially the established ones that aren't just young lions over for excursion, coming over and doing stuff. It happened more often a few years ago, back when guys like Liger and Tanahashi were in big tournaments like the Universal Tournament. But it's still nice to see them come over, even if it's like this, and Naito is just kind of doing a one-off match, like Okada did last year as well. Number 6, this is a bonus match, just to suggest a match from Tuesday, because I didn't have any from the Tuesday show on here, and that would be Flyer versus Titan. Another, if this match didn't happen on a week where we had a big singles championship match, this probably would have made the top 5. I think this has some of the same problems that Barbaro versus Forastero has, where it's kind of not evenly matched. Barbaro is a much bigger guy than Forastero, and Titan's a much bigger guy than Flyer. I think if we switched these people, and we had gotten Titan versus Barbaro instead of Forastero versus Barbaro, and we would have gotten Forastero versus Flyer, I think it would have worked out a lot better, because they would have been on a more even playing field instead of just the more known and higher profile guys dominating like they did. Did you watch CMLL this week? This week, like last, was very surprising in the amount of good to great content that CMLL put out. Next week's not looking as strong. There's no LA Park. There's no Naito. There's not even Rush is going to be busy doing stuff over the weekend, so I'm guessing that's why his appearances aren't happening in CMLL this week, because he's going to be doing a decent amount of work for Ring of Honor in the next week. I usually, at the end of CMLL Weekly, have the card breakdowns, and originally, in my script, I read the whole card breakdown. Instead, I'm just going to pick a match from each of the 3 nights that CMLL is going to be running and suggest my favorite match for each night. So Monday, which will stream live on YouTube, I have the main event. That's going to be my favorite match for Monday. Volador Jr. versus Gran Guerrero. There's no title on the line, which I don't really understand. This could mean that maybe Gran will win this 2 out of 3 falls match with Volador Jr., and then next week, Gran Guerrero versus Volador Jr. will be for the title. I'm not promising that, but that seems like something that could happen. Tuesday's show, coming from Arena, Mexico, I am going to have to go with Titon, Triton, and Guerrero Maya Jr. versus Los Guerreros Langoneros, Ultimo Guerrero, Euphoria, Gran Guerrero. It should be pretty fun, and it's a bigger match than you'd see guys like Triton and Guerrero Maya Jr. in. Titan has taken on the Guerreros a decent amount, but those other two, they're kind of flying above their station, and I'm interested to see how well they do in this big spot. And then Super Friday, ironically, Super Friday is their flagship show, but it also kind of looks like maybe the weakest of the week. And for that, I'm going to have to go with the semi-main event. We have Atlantis Jr., Mystico versus La Pesta Negra, Mr. Nibla, Barbaro Cavernario, and Negro Cassis. This is the match on the card with the highest ceiling, in my opinion. Negro Cassis has been great since his return. He's only had 3 or 4 or 5 matches. It's only been 2 or 3 weeks. So he hasn't appeared too much since returning from injury, and every time he's returned to be in a match after his injury, he's had really good matches. They've all been very good. So I'm expecting him to do pretty well Friday night. That is it for the pilot recording of CMLL Weekly. I'm going to edit this up, maybe put a video behind it, maybe just upload it as a podcast. We'll see. I hope you enjoy it. I hope I didn't pronounce anything too badly, and I hope I can make more videos in the future, and I hope you'll watch them. Hope you enjoyed CML this week, and I'll see you next week.